The first official battle to officially happen in this war happened in the Toxic Valley, between the United Force Alliance and the Coalition. It was a tense battle, but eventually the Coalition won. Most of the war for West Virginia was mainly skirmishes. Skirmishes weren't that huge, but there was one that actually played a major role at the White Powder skiing resort, which the USA lost very badly. Now, you may think that this war is already over, but trust me, this is only the beginning. November 21st saw the complete mobilization from both the Coalition and the UFA. A Federation force led by Acrobat goes into Roman territory, going through Managa and taking the power plant. Meanwhile, Elite Mercenary, leader of the Enclave Empire, takes a massive interest in what's going on in the east. The power plant the Federation took was in full production of fusion cores, and Elite Mercenary wanted those fusion cores for his power armor divisions. So what he did was, he attacked the Federation at Magana Power Plant. After the Enclave Empire took the power plant, the Federation goes to war with the Enclave Empire. The Samurai Empire and the Kingdom of New England joins the Coalition due to the fact that Dawn wanted to invade them. And plus, Dawn ruined the original Empire Powers chat, so they really joined the war out of revenge. This picture here is actually the most important picture of the war. Military leaders and faction leaders from the Coalition all met up to discuss the fate of Fallout 76 after they won the war. November 22nd. Nothing happened on this day besides a meeting between the UFA and they got a new ally, the West Virginian Republic. In this meeting, the UFA discussed how they could defeat the Federation, and one of the ways was launching a full-scale invasion into Federation territory. Get in there, take the Federation capital, and the Federation would surrender. On November 23rd, the UFA launches their offensive into Federation territory with the backing of artillery guns. The Federation did their best to hold off the enemy, but they were completely overwhelmed. Eventually, Coalition reinforcements arrived, but it was not enough to stop the UFA offensive. The Enclave Empire at the same time launches an offensive into Roman territory, destroying all Roman artillery guns as they viewed the guns as a threat towards them. The UFA offensive is stopped dead, right outside the Federation capital. We are about to get into one of the biggest battles of the whole war, the Battle of the Ammunition Factory. The Coalition, still outmatched, retreats into the ammunition factory. They entrench themselves for 7 hours. Martin, a military leader at this battle, attempts to contact the Brotherhood of Steel, letting them know that the situation at the ammunition factory is terrible. Now, originally, they declared neutrality, but Martin offered them weapons, some very good weapons. So the Brotherhood reconsiders and sends volunteers to go help the Coalition. Originally, the Brotherhood of Steel was supposed to be there 5 hours ago. They said give them 10 minutes. What ended up happening was they had to carry all their equipment across the map. After the Brotherhood arrived, the Romans blamed the West Virginia Republic for not taking the factory. And after all the arguing and stuff during the battle, the West Virginia Republic decided to turn on the Romans. The Romans retreat. The Romans then ran to the Enclave Republic and let them know that their rival joined the war. At least that's what Don believes, that they joined the war. So immediately the Enclave Republic joins the UFA against the coalition. After the Battle of the Ammunition Factory, it was pretty obvious who was going to win the war. But to the UFA, the war was yet to be lost. So they decided to start a whole new front, even though they already had one front to deal with. That front is the Southern Front. The UFA wanted revenge against the Brotherhood for joining the war, and they believed the time was now. So they decided to launch a full-scale invasion into Brotherhood territory. The UFA then arrives and attacks the Brotherhood, pushing them all the way to the monorail. Then the Romans sent a squad to take over the Brotherhood capital. Then this happened. The Roman squad is forced to retreat with the main group. The invasion of the Brotherhood territory ends in total failure for the UFA, as coalition forces arrive and push them out, resulting in a coalition victory. With the UFA southern offensive at a grinding halt, they thought now would be a good time to start another front, which is the Western Front. The Ace Women launches an attack force into Minutemen territory. They began committing atrocities against Minutemen civilians. November 25th, 2018, the coalition breaks through the Northern Front. With coalition forces breaking through the Northern Front, it was very clear who was going to win, but annoyingly, the Romans refused to surrender. So the Romans ran to the Third French Empire, led by Razor. They tried to convince him that the coalition was bad, and that the person that really started the war was the Republic of Minutemen. Razor then believed the Romans and what they were saying, and started making propaganda against the Republic of Minutemen. But then eventually the coalition came up to Razor and told the whole story. Then he was back to helping the coalition again. The last major battle of the war happened here in Flatwoods. This battle would ultimately defeat and ruin the Roman Empire's military. At this point, the Romans realized that the war was actually over. With some convincing from the Kingdom of New England, the Romans agreed to finally sign a treaty. November 28th, a treaty is signed between the coalition and the Roman Empire. This is the terms from both sides of the treaty, which none of these terms were met, which made the war pointless. A man by the name of Leviathan launches a nuclear attack on the Roman capital. The reason for this is because he was outraged by the treaty terms. After the nuclear attack, he forms a military alliance called the Whitesprings Concordant, which a lot of people joined him. Shortly after, the leader of the Empire Powers and leader of the Canadian Empire, Combat Man 97, declares Leviathan a terrorist. This 100% did not start a Cold War between the Whitesprings Concordant and the Empire Powers. The Federation really not trusting everyone, and believing that it's in their right to protect the people, start invading their former allies. On December 1st, this was supposed to be the map. But people thought it was so terrible, and not a lot of people recognized the treaty, we went back to the On December 23rd, 2018, the Roman Empire enters into a civil war, which Don immediately surrendered. After he surrendered, he ran to Red Dead to start his Chiller Boy empire.